For 99% of human existence, humans lived as ghosts. Small scattered bands roamed the land, leaving behind little more than broken stones and scattered bones. Their stories vanished with their breath, lost to prehistory. But then, in the sun-scorched plains of Mesopotamia, something impossible happened. Humanity learned to build for eternity. In Mesopotamia, cities did not rise on open plains, they grew in layers. These man-made hills, called tells, were stacked civilizations, collapsed mud-brick walls, forgotten temples, and debris of generations. Each layer was a lost world. And at the very bottom, archaeologists discover the people who invented the city, kings, law, and writing, the Sumerians. The Tigris and Euphrates were the lifeblood of Mesopotamia, but unlike the Nile, they were unpredictable. Spring floods could wipe out crops in hours, sweeping away homes and livestock. Yet, these floods left behind fertile mud, creating the most productive farmland on Earth. Mesopotamians had to tame chaos itself to survive. With few natural resources, the Sumerians turned mud into sun-dried bricks, creating sturdy houses and eventually ziggurats reaching toward the heavens. Their agricultural surplus became the engine of trade. Grain, textiles, and other goods were exchanged for cedar, copper, and lapis lazuli from distant lands. Hardship forced them to innovate and look outward, giving birth to engineering and international trade. Long before Sumer, the Ubaid people mastered permanent settlements and irrigation. They drained marshes, built raised mud-brick homes, and created the first temple complexes. Pottery, tools, and religious structures show sophistication far beyond subsistence survival. They laid the foundations upon which Uruk and the Sumerians would rise, transforming small villages into thriving cities. Faced with violent floods and scarce resources, the people of southern Mesopotamia invented large-scale cooperative irrigation. Entire communities organized to dig canals, build levees, and construct reservoirs. This was not just engineering, it was a social revolution. It required leadership, planning, and constant maintenance. The temple became the center of coordination, managing labor and resources for the good of the community. This mastery of water allowed the plains of Sumer to flourish with abundant grain, laying the foundation for civilization. With reliable irrigation, Sumerians produced massive agricultural surpluses. Farmers no longer worked for mere survival. Some people were free to specialize in crafts, priesthood, or military service. This was the birth of social stratification and specialization. Artisans could perfect pottery, weavers could create fine textiles, priests could focus on spiritual life, and soldiers could defend the city. Civilization had room for more than just survival. It had room for culture, innovation, and governance. The village model was no longer sufficient. In southern Mesopotamia, the first true city emerged, Uruk. Around 3000 BC, Uruk became the largest city on Earth, home to 50,000 to 80,000 people. Its influence spread across the ancient world through art, pottery, and new forms of organization. Uruk had canals for transport, crowded streets, workshops, marketplaces, and monumental temple precincts. It was chaotic, bustling, and the first example of urban life as we know it. Uruk was protected by massive defensive walls, nearly 6 miles long, with hundreds of towers. These walls were both practical and symbolic, separating civilization from wilderness. According to legend, King Gilgamesh laid their foundations. Archaeology confirms these walls existed, showcasing the organization, labor, and engineering power of Sumerians. Civilization was asserting itself over nature and chaos. At the heart of Uruk were sacred precincts. The first, dedicated to Inanna, featured temples decorated with thousands of small clay cones in intricate mosaics. The second, for the sky god Anu, was the White Temple atop a massive raised platform. Ziggurats were artificial mountains, bringing priests closer to the gods. These structures were spiritual, political, and social centers, representing the Sumerians' mastery of labor, design, and devotion. Below these monuments, Uruk was a dense maze of narrow alleyways, mud-brick houses, canals, and workshops. The city was alive with sounds: merchants shouting, craftsmen hammering, priests chanting, livestock bleating. Canals carried goods on small boats. For the first time, humans were learning to live together in a complex urban society, balancing economy, religion, and daily life. Temples controlled land, labor, and resources. Citizens worked for the gods and received rations in return. Priests and scribes meticulously recorded transactions on clay tablets. This was the world's first redistributive economy. Grain, beer, oil, and wool were measured and distributed. Cylinder seals acted as signatures, ensuring accountability. Civilization now had organized administration, social security, and complex economic systems. The agricultural surplus freed a large portion of the population from farming. People became specialists: potters, weavers, brewers, smiths, priests, and soldiers. This allowed for mastery, innovation, and cultural growth. Civilization became more than survival. It became art, craft, governance, and religion. Human potential expanded in unprecedented ways. Uruk and the Sumerians set the template for cities, kings, law, writing, and organized society. Their achievements in architecture, irrigation, trade, and administration influenced civilizations for millennia. From chaos and scarcity, humans created order, culture, and civilization itself. The story of the Sumerians is the story of human ingenuity and the birth of urban life.